The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of the staff and management of Salem Media of Hawaii.
Welcome to Generations Radio, where the focus is on our seniors and their families. We are here each Saturday afternoon from 5 until 6 p.m., bringing you resourceful information with our radio team of professionals in the field of aging. Stay with us for the next 1 hour as we explore different ways to make life more exciting and meaningful for our extraordinary seniors. Right here on AM 690 The Answer. And now, here is our host and the publisher of Generations Magazine, Percy Ihara.
Good afternoon. This is Percy Ihara, your host for this weekend. As you know, we're on Saturdays from 5 to 6 and Sundays from 3 to 4 here on AM 690 The Answer. And we brought you many answers to the biggest problem in elder living or aging living, and that is the elder abuse issue that's continuing to grow more and more as I've been involved in the senior industry for over 11 years. And we've our normal guest on elder abuse is Mr. Scott Spallina from the prosecutor's office. Welcome back to the show, Scott.
Hey, good afternoon, Percy. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, as always, I mean, I was watching a YouTube video as I mentioned to you about elder abuse, and it was a YouTube video. Actually, I would recommend everybody that has issues or concerns about elder abuse, or maybe a family member, a neighbor, somebody from church, just Google elder abuse, and you can find. And on YouTube, there's many videos, many presentations on this issue, and the best one is actually you can probably Google him. And his name is Paul Greenwood. You know
That's
who
correct.
he is, right?
Yeah, he's a fantastic guy. He's been doing this now for close to 20 years, and he's, for lack of a better term, he's a rock star when it comes to elder issues. He's basically what he did in San Diego, California, is being emulated all over the nation, and he's like the go-to guy for all elder abuse and exploitation issues nationwide, probably even worldwide by now. But back in, I think, 2007, I was sent by my office to look at what they were doing over there.
Oh, really?
And I got a lot of ideas from Paul Greenwood, and I've been doing this now since 2008, and he's like my inspiration because he still does a lot of writing, he still does a lot of prosecution. Yeah. He sends us emails. We belong to this one website where he constantly sends us updates and tips and everything. And so he's basically a mentor to younger attorneys or newer attorneys trying to establish elder abuse issues in their state. And he's a fantastic guy. And speaking of YouTube, just recently, we haven't really fully announced it, but I'll mention it today. Is
First time today.
Breaking news on Generations Radio. We have a YouTube channel of a lot of, if you go on YouTube, like you said, all one word, YouTube, and you type in Elder Abuse Hawaii, we have about, I think, like 10 to 13 videos up there. A lot of them are past interviews we have done. And actually, you're involved in this, in that there's maybe 3 Generations radio shows that have had me or Keith or Lieutenant McCarthy. And one great thing is that not only you go on this website, YouTube, and you type in Elder Abuse Hawaii, you'll get your full radio show, but also you'll get a running PowerPoint that will show what we're talking about as well. So you get audio plus visual of the conversation going on. And so I encourage people to go to YouTube and type in Elder Abuse Hawaii, and those basically hours and hours of local issues involving elder abuse there on the internet.
Wow. We got to put that in the magazine, because it's a growing problem,
it
elder
definitely
abuse,
is.
and there's so many different facets. But let me ask you this: since we got Hawaii's rock star in elder abuse, Mr. Scott Spallina, from Keith County Sheriff's prosecuting office, but why did you get involved with elder abuse in the first place?
Oh my gosh. Okay, when I first started with the office, I was involved in domestic violence.
And that was what, 20 years ago?
20 years ago.
I saw the picture of you. You had long hair.
I did. I was a hippie back then.
You did. You see the picture? I was like, that's him. I saw it on the wall of all the prosecutors. It has your original picture there.
Oh my gosh, that's actually when I had hair. But actually, it was my wife that got me involved in elder abuse, in that she was getting her master's in social work in gerontology, and she saw a need to have an elder abuse team or elder abuse presence here in Hawaii. So she went ahead and asked me to, she actually did a lot of this grant proposal and wanted me to present it to then prosecuting attorney Peter Carlisle. And so she wrote it up, she had me present it, and then I think it stuck in Peter Carlisle's mind that I was interested in elder abuse. And then a couple years later, he says, "Hey, you still want to do the elder abuse stuff?" Really? And I said, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And so I became the designated elder abuse issue, because back then, domestic violence was my life. And I was doing a lot of domestic violence work, and they made me the head of the domestic violence unit. But because of my wife's input in the elder abuse, and because of her passion for gerontology issues, and she, while getting her master's in social work, worked at APS as an extern there. And so she had come back with stories that would curl your hair. And so she's been a lot of, my guiding light, so to speak. And even today, when I talk about my work, she can still add input saying, well, what about this? You need to have a closer coalition with Elliot over at APS.
Elliot Cano, who was on our show last month.
Yeah, he was. And that's why, so I'm being pushed or shoved sometimes by my wife to do more elder abuse and more collaborative efforts there.
But you've been doing it for what, 8 years now?
I've been since 2008. Started the unit. It's and actually you were one of my first people that approached me and had me have a wider audience. You were doing, I think, on a Lelo show.
Yeah, on Lelo. But we also were on another radio station back then. You actually were my first guest, I think, on that old Kapuna Connections radio show.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah, like 2009, I believe it was.
Yeah. And trust me, that's when times were simpler back then, because elder abuse has exploded since our first meeting, and has increased probably over 300%. And I'm talking about elder abuse just on this island alone. And it's been an educational process for me, just learning about all the different scams, learning about what family members do to each other is just incredible and saddening at the same time. Yeah,
I was on a national call yesterday, and it was about family communication within the caregiving realm of life. And the lady talked about the different dynamics of the family, why things are not fair, why things are emotional. Obviously, they're emotional, and everybody has a different viewpoint or idea or wish to how to care for a parent. And some people feel they're obligated to money. Some feel they're obligated to treat their parent how the parent treated them when they were growing up. And actually a lot of problems start that way. We'll find, Scott, you were the favorite son, and now dad's at age, and Scott's still my favorite son. And Cindy and Chaz and Percy here don't feel that way, and it caused a lot of problems.
Well, and I get calls all the time from one sibling accusing another sibling of abuse, or especially if one sibling takes on the role as a caregiver. Then what you find is that the other siblings pull away, because being a caregiver of a disabled, or let's say a parent suffering from dementia or some crippling ailment like that, it's hard work. And during the course of my job, I have learned so much. I have so much respect now for caregivers in all shapes and forms. And also through my association with you and your living at home, staying in
Aging in Place workshop.
Aging in Place workshop there, and meeting those caregivers. It's just a huge responsibility. And as let's say you're a son, then you're kind of forced into this role, because as you know very well, caregiving is very expensive. When you have to go out there and hire somebody to come into your home, it's incredibly expensive. When you want to go into a facility that is nice, that you can see yourself being like
non-Medicaid.
non-Medicaid,
private pay.
Private pay facilities, it's incredibly expensive,
And from $8,000 to $12,000 a month.
Yeah. And so people is like, so here you have the children saying, okay, well, we can sell mom and dad's house so they can afford this, or why don't we go on the cheap? And you, Sonny Boy, you go ahead and care for mom and dad, and then and we'll just go ahead and save all the assets to when they die, then we have this inheritance. And that's when all this.
But then Dad said, Scott, if I take care of Dad, I get the house though.
Yeah, well, they may not tell the other siblings, and that's the whole thing there. And the other siblings, they back away, saying, "Okay, Junior Boy, he's taking care of Dad," and then all of a sudden the will is changed to where Junior Boy gets everything. And I say, "Wait, that's not fair." And I say, "Well, but Junior Boy for the past 5 years has had to be this 24-hour caregiver." So there's a lot of gray area there, and a lot of people saying it's abuse, undue influence, all these things like that. And
well, you've had it. Didn't you have a case like something like that recently? Then the lady was prosecuted, and she was found guilty. And I think did she get time or something? Or she sold the house.
Okay, well that's the neighbor. That was the neighbor that came in and became a caregiver, and then the neighbor had the older individual sign a power of attorney. And then with that power of attorney, the neighbor was able to sell the woman's house out from under her without any family input or anything. And that's something that's just we're just seeing so much abuse, and there's so much potential for abuse with these power of attorneys, and yet they're so easy to get. That's the scary part. And so I know that the law has been changed, and they're trying to educate the public on, like, maybe you shouldn't rush into these power of attorneys. Maybe there should be certain safeguards, like multiple witnesses that need to sign on these power of attorneys. And the banks are getting more akamai.
Well, the banks don't like to take power of attorneys.
And the reason being is that they have seen so much abuse.
Well, yeah. I mean, you don't know which one's valid.
Yeah.
Do we use the one that was signed yesterday or last year? And was the one signed yesterday valid?
Yeah.
You know, it is. I used to work at both banks, Bank of Hawaii and First Hawaiian, in the mortgage department, and I don't blame them. So, but they don't have a good fix either. They don't have anybody.
They don't. They're kind of all over the board. We do a lot of
Every
education.
bank has a different legal department. That's why.
We do a lot of legal education, and that's one of the things that always comes up is, like, how do we know? So, with my association with notaries, I know that sometimes notaries do multiple originals because they say, oh, the bank wants an original of this,
right,
or the bank wants them to use their own form. And so there's all these different caveats that each bank is trying to do to come up with a fix. And unfortunately, all power of attorney is not bad. I mean, some of them are very, very helpful, and some of them are very, very needed. But with everything, though, it still can be corrupted, and it still can be misused. And so the banks, I know, are struggling, and there's not really a lot of guidance with the state, like mandating certain things. And I think that, I know Jim Peach has made some efforts in trying to explain what should be done
at the University of Hawaii.
At the University of Hawaii U-Help program there. Yeah, it's a tricky situation.
You know, I was talking to Elliot Cano, the head of Adult Protective Services, last month, and number one problem that he found, number one case category that he found was on caregiving. The abuse at caregiving at nursing facilities, foster care homes, that was the number one complaint of all the complaints they have.
Well, and that's the thing is that we're talking about care homes, and people will pay, like you say, tens of thousands of dollars. And in their mind, they're thinking, this is a lot of money. Therefore, I want this person to have like 24-hour care. I want nurses stationed outside the door. I want the best treatment possible. And then they go into these facilities and say, wait a minute, what are all these people? What's that smell? What's going on here? And they don't realize the cost of running a business. And you're a business person. And so there's like, you have to pay for the building, you have to pay for salaries for everybody, you have to pay for overhead, you have to pay for insurance, all these things associated with, and especially in a care facility, you know that they have insurance at the yin-yang there. And so I think it's sticker shock for a lot of families. And then they think that, hey, wait, I'm paying this much money. my folks can have if they were healthy and well, they could have like a nice apartment on the outside, but now they're in this little room. Sometimes they have to share it with someone else. And so there's a lot of sticker shock, a lot of disillusionment of the whole caregiving thing. And let's say they weren't prepared. Let's say they didn't do long-term care insurance. And so they're paying out of pocket, or they're trying to squeeze by on Medicare, Medicaid. And it's a lot of shock and then a lot of suspicion and saying, oh, it must be neglect because they're not outside my dad's door 24/7, or I came in and my dad had a soiled diaper, even though they just said that half an hour ago they checked on him and everything. So I can understand why there's a lot of complaints. Now,
But every year, there's been several cases in the last few years about certified nurses' aides or even owners of care homes being prosecuted.
true, but remember though, there's over 500 care facilities out there in the state of Hawaii, and you're only hearing about it's like it's like an airplane crash. I mean, one plane crashes and everybody says, "Oh, flying is unsafe," but then you don't realize that there's thousands of planes a day
It's
going
actually the
there.
safest form of transportation.
Exactly. Now, I'm not here to defend caregivers, but I want to give them their due respect that you're going to get a couple of bad apples
Always.
out there,
In
and you're
any
going to get
industry.
maybe some neglect going on. And that's why I wouldn't automatically jump onto the abuse category or the neglect category, but I would jump onto the education category. And one thing is that if you do have a loved one in a care facility, visit them often.
Yes.
There's no excuse for them to be there for several days without a family member coming by there, without anybody visiting them. And I've personally known, I've had family members in these care facilities, and the more you visit, then the staff knows that, hey, wait a minute, they're being watched out there. They're being cared for. We're not going to just medicate this person and let them sleep all day long without any sort of physical therapy or occupational therapy. And so I tell people all the time, if you have a mom or dad or any kapuna in these facilities, visit them often, even if it's just like to watch Wheel of Fortune or to watch Jeopardy, or just stop by, make it to where the staff knows this person is being watched out for. I think that's the number one preventative means that you can have at your disposal.
It is such a big problem. But in your world, what do you think the number one caseload is about? Is it about financial fraud?
Oh yeah, easily.
Really?
And we're talking about not only financial fraud from strangers, and I don't want to sound like a broken record with respect to the lottery scams that go on there. Like, congratulations, you won $20 million. You have to pay this advance fee of $20,000 to get the money. But we're seeing a lot of family abusing family. And in fact, it's interesting that you started this program with talking about children, because I've gotten calls recently where adult children have done what I consider to be horrendous in taking advantage of their parents. And before the show, I was talking to you about it was a reverse mortgage situation where this one woman in Waianae, she took out a huge loan, like a couple $100,000 on the house, with the expectation of talking to her adult daughter, saying, okay, I'm going to take out this money. And quite honestly, I can't remember if it was a reverse mortgage or a home equity loan. And with the hopes of renovating the house so that the daughter and her family could move in there, take care of the mom, and also help with the repay the loan. What happened is that she took out all this money, $200,000 plus. The daughter went into the account and cleaned it out.
I've seen that before.
Yeah. And it's like, oh my gosh. And what did she do? One of the things she did is took her whole family, except for the mom, to Disney World, a first class trip to Disney World, and stayed there for a couple weeks.
There's 20,000 right there, easily.
Yeah. And it's just crazy. And now the mom is stuck pending foreclosure. And this happened like last year.
It must have been a regular line of credit, because if she got a reverse mortgage, even though she took all the money out, she can live there for the rest of her life.
I did not know that.
So hopefully she did a reverse mortgage, but you just said she's in foreclosure, so
Yeah.
probably a regular line of credit.
Regular line of
That's
credit.
why reverse mortgages are better option.
Okay.
If the daughter did that, she can still live there even though there's no more money in her line of credit.
But what about if let's say,
So it's not good for the daughter, because once mom dies, that reverse mortgage money, it has to be paid back.
right?
And if the daughter can't pay it back, she's going to sell the house. And if there's any equity left over, the heirs will get it. or if there's no equity left over, then she just walks away. But she has to move out of the house.
Yeah.
So there's good and bad about the reverse mortgage, which we'll cover in another show here.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's one of the things with regard to reverse mortgage. When people when they're getting consultation from the daughter, or if I have a client and I understand that the children are involved, I want to make sure, talking to mom separately from the family, what is the money being used for? And I would probably advise them not to do it.
Okay. Let's say that.
So-
Let's say you became involved in this conversation at the very beginning, and the mom says, "My daughter, we're going to take all this money out of the house, the equity of the house, to renovate it so that she can live with us." What would be your cautions to her?
Well, I mean, like I said earlier, if it's a reverse mortgage, it only can be on the mother. So when she passed away, the family, the daughter would need to realize that when she passed away, this loan is going to be due, and she won't be able to live here unless she can pay the reverse mortgage off.
Now, with the reverse mortgage, can you get a lump sum?
You can, but I would never recommend it,
And why not?
because as soon as you take all the money out, we're going to start collecting interest on that. So in any kind of renovation construction job, it's going to be certain phases, right? So I'll tell her to take out money little by little.
Okay.
But in reality, it's really, do you really want to do this? Because that's a big lifestyle change to renovate your house and where she's going to move to at a time, if it's a tear down or not. So, and she has to realize, the daughter got to realize that you take this $200,000 out in 10 years, that balance, if you don't make mortgage payments, that balance will probably double in about 10 years. So,
Wow.
because it's compounding interest. So the family just needs to realize the reverse mortgage is a great tool, but you need to understand the ramifications of using this tool, the long-term effects of the reverse mortgage. So usually when I talk to families like that, they'll say, maybe not a good idea. Or maybe I'll get a regular equity line, but I got to make sure that the mother knows that if you're going to get an equity line, who's going to make mortgage payments?
Okay.
And like I said, if it's a big renovation, they take out money little at a time when they do renovate. They're gonna put the foundation in, they're gonna do the walls, they're gonna do the interiors. All comes in phases, so you never take all the money out at one time anyway.
Okay.
So
Okay.
they might have got an equity line, and so the daughters, let's take all the money out. Well, you never do that. You shouldn't be doing that.
Okay.
You don't take money out when you need the money. And so, like I say, usually construction goes on certain phases. So it would be a red flag for anybody if they took all the money out immediately.
Right.
always a
And
red
that's what she did because she had the trust of the mom. And okay, Mr. Money, let me ask you this question here, 'cause I got another call. A father called me up, and he was terribly upset because he had set aside, there's a lump sum of money, over $80,000 in a bank account. The money was to care for his disabled sister, who was a senior. Okay.
His sister. Okay.
His sister. Okay. And
It's not a lot of money, by the way, to care for somebody.
Yeah.
$80,000.
Yeah.
That's 1 year.
Okay. And so the caller, his daughter, said, "You know what? I can help take care of Auntie. Okay. I'll live with Auntie, and you pay me $2,000 a month. And I'll live with Auntie. I'll take care of her and she'll be paid through the $80,000. Okay. That lasted 6 months. What happened is that the daughter met somebody. Okay. And the new boyfriend convinced the daughter, take all the money out and let's move away. So now you have the caller with no money to care for his sister, disabled sister.
So how did she get a hold of them, all that money?
She had access to the account because she was the caregiver.
Just because she's a caregiver doesn't mean she has to have access to the account.
Well, you see, and it goes back to what I was talking about earlier about trust. I mean, this is such a violation of trust that, and we're having, I mean, I know you're a parent, your child's not that old yet, but just imagine if, you had a child that violated the trust by stealing from their own parent. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, it actually happens quite a bit more than people want to wish they did. But that's why there's got to be checks and balances in place. If she's an only child, and that's nobody else they can turn to, or another relative. But when you have multiple children, I always tell them, make sure everybody knows what's going on. If your brother and sister, as my parents' age and your parents' age, hopefully the rest of the family gets involved as well, and you know what's going on. and kind of like not really say an open book, but everybody should know everybody's duties and responsibilities as mom and dad ages. You know, and that's one of the things we're going to be covering in our June-July issue of Generations Magazine is the sandwich generation and caregiving, and how to deal with that. And that's going to be a huge story. It's going to be the largest cover story that we're ever going to do, by the way. It's coming in this June-July issue. But anyway, there's so many different facets of elder abuse. But you said mostly it's financial fraud.
Mostly it's financial fraud, and people say, yeah, it's only money. It's not like physical abuse or anything like that. But when you're talking about a certain generation that has saved all their life for these assets and for it to be taken away, then it's devastating to the person.
You know, we're here with Scott Spallina from the prosecutor's office talking about elder abuse. And really the biggest, you know, I was watching a video last night on YouTube regarding this elder abuse issue. And he would have put up a big sign on the screen that said, let's break the silence. And that's really what it is when it comes to elder abuse. The seniors just don't want to talk about it, don't tell anybody, they don't report the crime. We're going to take a short break here. We'll be right back after this little short message.
We will be right back with Percy Ihara from Generations Radio. If you have any questions or want to be part of our discussion, give us a call at 296-5467. That's 296-5467. This is Generations Radio on AM 690 The Answer.
Over 10 years ago, the Plaza opened their first assisted living facility to serve the growing need of Hawaii's senior community. Since then, they've made it possible for thousands of families to stay connected with their loved ones in a true home-away-from-home setting. Now, a decade later, there are more reasons than ever why Hawaii seniors and their loved ones choose the Plaza Assisted Living. Maybe it's the flexibility of monthly rental apartment living, or the comfort of knowing that the Plaza offers independent and assisted living, memory care, even short-term respite care. Options to serve each resident's individual needs. What's reason number one? The Plaza Assisted Living feels like home. And they're going to be opening the newest plaza in Pearl City very soon. You could make your deposit today. Come, see for yourself. Call and schedule a free tour at 377-5292. That's 377-5292. Or visit us online at theplazaassistedliving.com. Theplazaassistedliving.com.
Simplify your life by opening a My Social Security account. What's My Social Security? It's a secure online account that allows you immediate access to your personal Social Security information. During your working years, you can use My Social Security to view your Social Security statement, to check your earnings record and see estimates of the future retirement, disability, and survivor benefits you and your family may receive. If you receive benefits, you can get a benefit verification, check your benefit and payment information, change your address and phone number, and even change your direct deposit information. Open a My Social Security account today and simplify your life. Just visit www.socialsecurity.gov/myaccount. While you're online, check out all the other things you can do at www.socialsecurity.gov.
Today, more than ever, we local people are living longer than any other state in the Union, with more seniors, baby boomers, and caregivers. Generations Radio promotes the importance to be proactive as we all age. The radio team will focus on issues facing our seniors and their families, finding resources to navigate healthy aging along with financial, legal, and caregiving information. So join Percy E. Howard from 5 until 6 each Saturday, right here on AM 690 The Answer. focusing on the issues facing our seniors and their families today. Here's our Generations Radio host, Percy Ihara.
Welcome back to Generations Radio. I am Percy Ihara, your host here every Saturday and Sunday, and here on AM 690 The Answer. And I did want to mention this, you'll start coming out seeing the April-May issue of Generations magazine on the racks at all most of the Safeway Longs and Times. Every doctor office in the state of Hawaii gets a copy. Every library in the state of Hawaii gets a copy. So if you're on the neighbor islands here, you can pick it up at your local library in your area. The YMCA's here in Honolulu, as well as the big city diners, Vacations Hawaii. And on page page 3, we actually have a listing of all the distribution locations around town. And most of the retirement facilities, assisted living facilities, Farmer Care, by the way, in the state of Hawaii, Kaiser's, and then you have on the Big Island, we have KTA. So thanks to KTA out there, they're a great distribution point in the Big Island here. So we're statewide now, and I'm happy to say our website as well is growing. You can go to generations808.com. And you actually can listen to all these radio shows. We archive them all on our website, as well as all our Aging in Place presentations that we do every year. And all the past issues of Generations Magazine, including our very first one that we did with Kirk Matthews there in 2010. So, and this year's cover story is Korale Matayoshi from the Red Cross, Hawaii Red Cross. And I don't know if people know, and she probably will not tell you, but she was 1979 Narcissus Queen. She's actually and also very still active in the sorority at University of Hawaii, Beta Beta Gamma. And actually, I didn't know this, but we were very close to them in college. My fraternity is Phi Kappa Pi. And actually on page, I'm going to find that page now. On page, I'm going to get the story here. We did a tribute to them on page 24 of our April-May issue, the Brothers and Sisters in Community Service, because they do a big golf tournament every year. This past year was at Mid-Pacific Country Club in Kailua, and actually did a tribute to my fraternity brother, Dennis Tyra, who unfortunately passed away last year. But he was involved in every golf tournament. I didn't know that. Every golf tournament. So it's got to be, 20, 30 years now. Maybe about 10, 15 years they've been involved with it. But all the money goes is a fundraising, and it goes to all local charities. And as well, you'll see my picture on page 22, which is my son's school over at Assets, as they do a Kupuna Day. And it was cute.
Are you serious?
It was Assets is by the airport. It's a private school there.
Right.
And they did a story. We did a story because what month was that? It was a couple months ago. Assets does a Kupuna Day where they tell the grandparents to come in. Not the parents, the grandparents come in and share the stories about what they went through as they grew up in elementary school. And so actually my dad spoke and said, he grew up on a Big Island, talking about how, back in those days, you walked to school. And my mother, who grew up on Maui, talked about walking through the pastures because she grew up on Haleakala Dairy. And she had to make sure they didn't walking on any of the cow poop because she had to walk through the fields to get to school.
Hey, watch your language now. We're on radio here.
Well, cow poop is okay. But it's amazing how the kids go, wow, you walked through a pasture? Because, back in those days, they literally walked a couple miles to school. But it's interesting, my father also talked about when he was in school, the 1946 tsunami, that they had to take care of the bodies on the beach. Because he was a Boy Scout. So the Boy Scouts had to go pick up the bodies on the beach. It's a sad story, but kids didn't. They got emotional with that one. But Asset School does a great job. Every year they bring the grandparents in and take a picture with them. And my son's only in the 4th grade, but he loved it. And like I said, every month we have a resource guide. And this April-May issue, because it's on volunteerism, on page 20, we have a list of different places you can volunteer at.
And that's so great because I go to a lot of the senior fairs, and that's one question that's always asked is how can they help? They're able-bodied, they want to get out in the community, and what services accept volunteers, and what services can you get volunteers from?
Well, we have a whole list here: Alzheimer's Association, Arthritis Foundation, Catholic Charities, Common Grace, the Hawaii State Health Insurance Program, Honolulu Theater for Youth, which would be great, Kuakini, Lanakila Meals on Wheels, Leilani Hospital, Lunalilo Home, St. Francis Senior Companion Program, which is a great program. It's seniors helping seniors. Seagull Schools, Project Donna, of course, the American Red Cross. So please spend some time volunteering. Palolo Chinese Home, Na Ho'oloha, and Manoa Cottage in Kamiki, believe it or not, Manoa Cottage in Kamiki. They are looking for volunteers. And I would highly recommend it. It keeps you engaged in the community. And because if you're a senior yourself, donating your time, you can probably relate with the people you're helping out. So this is a great issue. We're up to 56 pages now and growing.
Yeah, it's heavy. I was noticing that it seems to be bigger than before.
Yeah. And actually, if you want a cute story, on page 28, the story about my friend's bakery, Hawaiian Pie Company in Kalihi. And they actually have a discount for seniors, discount on the pies. The pies are excellent, by the way. So congratulations to Jan and Joel Horry. And actually, this Hawaiian Pie Company actually originally recipes from their grandfather in the Big Island. And it was called Holly's Bakery or Holy's Bakery. You know why?
Why?
Because they put the L in instead of the R. Their last name was Horry, Hori. But for some reason, they turned the R to an L, so it's called Holy's or Holly's Bakery in the Big Island. I don't believe it's there anymore, but it's a cute story. But I had the pies; they're great pies. I mean, they are heavy, and that's the thing you can tell when you lift it up. It's dense. It's really
dense
good.
there.
Apple pie is my favorite, but they're telling me the apricot or some, I'm thinking what passion fruit was their most popular one. Kim, I'll bring you some pies next time.
I was about to say, you can't talk about pie and not have any in front of us here.
Yeah, we'll do it next time. Well, the reason why, because Dennis Nagata, Dr. Dennis Nagata, the dentist, was on last week, and I'll tell you, I learned so much about dentistry for seniors. I'm telling you, this guy knocked my socks off, and so thanks to Dennis. And actually, I talked to a couple of people, they heard that. I was at a meeting Tuesday, and the guy goes, yeah, listen to Dr. Dennis Nagata. Really amazing stuff about your teeth and how important it is to keep your teeth in shape. And seniors, a lot of times, they can't afford it because dental health insurance is not included as you get a senior in Medicare.
What?
It's very limited. Very, very limited. So give you an idea. If you want to have implants or you want to whiten your teeth, if you need dentures like that, insurance doesn't cover any of that.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
So you want to get it out now while you're working. So don't wait till you're a senior to fix your teeth. Yeah, I did not know that. It's all private pay. Implants will cost probably anywhere from, I think it's like $5,000 to $8,000 per tooth. Implants.
Holy cow.
Yeah. But I'll tell you, you know what it is? I like about it? It's permanent.
Okay. Well, yeah, because it goes down to the bone or whatever. Yeah.
Yes. So, and in technology today, I had to replace a filling, and my dentist was kind of scanning my back of my area of my tooth.
Right.
I was wondering, what is he doing? I looked on the right of me, the screen. You can see the screen making the mold of my tooth where the bridge is supposed to be. I don't know if you've seen that for your dentist. Well, you probably have you been to the dentist lately?
What are you implying there?
That if you ever had a procedure done, that Dr. Nagata was telling me how everything is technology based. So yeah, they were scanning my tooth, and I could see them right on the screen, and he goes, "Look at this!" And the screen was the technology program was forming the area where my tooth is going to be, and it was making the mold.
Holy cow! Wow,
amazing! So thanks to Dennis Nagata, who in this April-May issue talks about the smile, rejuvenate your life. Now, this topic here by my good friend, Dr. Rita Bell Fernandez, constipation in seniors. I mean, that can happen to anybody. And the high-intensity training for arthritic relief from Julie Moon, the physical therapist. So, anyway, we're here with prosecutor. Your column here, Scott.
My column there.
You're here on page 48.
48.
Scott Spallina, senior deputy prosecuting attorney, talking about sham marriages.
Sham marriages.
Can you explain that further? Sham?
Well,
I've got actually, I work with seniors. I've actually got 5 seniors. I think they're all in their 80s, and they actually married a caregiver, and they were all under 45.
And
it works for them.
It works for them, but does it work for their adult children?
That was always my concern. So I actually kind of pulled the senior aside and said, are your children okay with this? And they said, yeah, I talked to all my children. They're fine with that.
You see,
they know when I'm gone, because this person they actually got married, is going to get all the assets. And the kids were okay with that.
You see, I get calls from kids that are not okay with that.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
and that was the
they're
inspiration.
expecting an inheritance. That's why.
That was the inspiration for
really?
this article that I wrote.
Sham marriages. Huh?
Sham marriages, because I'm getting calls. Actually started within the past 6 months or so. I mean, I guess it doesn't go in cycles, but sometimes I hear about it at certain times. And one story that I relayed in your article, first of all, going back to your magazine, you're not going to be able to not see the cover of this magazine. This is the most striking cover of your magazine I have ever seen.
Well,
there.
red's my favorite color.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. I mean, this is you're going to be walking through the library, or you're going to be walking through, I get mine at Safeway, at Britannia, and you get this magazine is going to stand out there. But going back to, I had a adult daughter calling me up because she felt that her dad was in a sham marriage. And basically she was helping the dad with the finances, saying, okay, Dad, let me just help you with the finances, make sure everything's okay. And what she saw was a secret life that the dad had kept from her. And when I say secret life, he had gotten married.
He had
gotten married without telling the daughter. He got married to a bar girl. A place that he would go drinking. This woman was considerably younger than he was. They had never lived together. And he was paying her rent and paying her car payments.
I've seen that before.
And so that was the whole...
and they got married?
They got married without the daughter or family knowing about it.
And are they living together?
They're not living together.
Oh.
Yeah, and she confronted the dad, and the dad said that, I like her, I'm in love with her, and we just have a non-traditional marriage.
But if she was on a green card or not a citizen, usually immigration, because if she wants to get, a lot of times they get married because they want to become a citizen. Right. Actually, immigration will do interviews with you and ask you questions to find out whether this is a serious marriage or not. But you don't really have to live together to be legally married, but that's typical, traditional. But.
Yeah, and then that's it there. And that there are warning signs, which I articulate in your magazine about what families should look for. But as you indicated before, though, there are some, what's that called, the May-December romance, where one person is significantly younger than the other person.
Well, like I said, I with regard to the reverse mortgage, when I talk to them, it's not my kuleana to worry about it, but I was asking, are the family okay with that? Because I don't want them come back to me later on and tell me, oh, that wasn't, when I knew about it. So I had to kind of bring it up a little bit more. But, I was talking about, if you're interested in more information on elder abuse, the prosecutor's office has a YouTube channel.
Yes.
And you got to Google.
You go to YouTube, and all you do is type in elder abuse Hawaii.
That's it?
That's it.
I'm going to do that. Can I
you can do it right now.
My smartphone. My beautiful smartphone. I'm not afraid to mention it's a Samsung Note 4, which is a high definition screen. Because don't laugh, our engineer here, because I'm slowly, because I do a lot of reading and stuff like that. My eyes aren't as good as they used to be, and this screen is just beautiful. And it's a bigger font and it's clear, and you can blow it up, but. I used to have this iPhone, the 3 and a 4, and that's a toy compared to this.
I'm holding my iPhone 4.
Yeah, that's a 4.
Yeah, it's a 4.
Oh yeah, that's a toy compared to this.
Well, you should look at my wife. She has an iPhone 6.
Okay, the 6 Plus?
And that's like a mini iPad.
That's a great phone. Anything people don't realize that. Yeah, it's big, bulky, but it does its job, and I can still put it in my pocket. Girls can put it in their bags, but I probably not much bigger than this. I would say. There is actually one bigger than this, by the way. It's called the Sony Inspiron or something like that. It's bigger than the iPhone 6 Plus and the Samsung Note.
Well, I mean, it serves its purpose in that it gives my wife some resistance weight training because she picks up her purse and it's so heavy, that phone, it just weighs down that whole purse there.
But anyway, Prosecuting Attorney Scott Spallina here. I went to YouTube and I saw this PowerPoint presentation on elder abuse. It had a big, and you said you had that. It's called "Silence Isn't Golden."
Silence isn't golden, and it goes back to what we're talking about. A lot of it's family members that are taking advantage of their parents, and because of that, you're getting a lot of examples. I'm hearing from people that call my office at 768-6452. They're calling my office wanting to relate to me. They're being victims of elder abuse, typically financial abuse, but they don't want the police involved.
Yeah.
And that's the saddest thing. I had this one caller where an adult child called me up because he was so upset with his brother. What the brother did, what the caller did was he said, you know what, Scott, I went to the bank because my mom wanted to do some financial planning, wanted to do some estate planning and everything. And so I took her to the bank to get her paperwork in order, do the estate planning and prepare for the future. And the bank person, the financial advisor said, you know what, this house that you want to put in trust, you don't own it. And she said, that's ridiculous. I've owned it. I bought it with my husband years and years ago and everything like that. What happened was that the caller's brother, about 6 years prior, took the mom to the bank and said, Mom, can you co-sign on a loan with me? And the mom said, sure, I'll co-sign on the loan. What she actually did was quit claim deed the house to her son.
Wow.
And yeah. And it's just crazy that basically the mom didn't realize what she was signing because it goes back to trust. She trusted the son to be honest with her and saying, okay, I'll help you with this loan because I trust you and I know you'll pay back the loan. In actuality, she is signing over her own house to this son. And obviously the son was expecting that when the mom passed on, then bang, he'd get the house. And it wouldn't have to go through probate or through the trust or whatever like that. Now, the amazing thing is that the caller was so upset that he wanted his brother arrested immediately, and it was a crime. It was theft by deception, and he could be arrested for that.
But can you prove that?
Yes. I mean, you could prove it if the mom came in and testified that my son told me this, and he lied to me, and it actually had this happen. The thing is, though, the mom didn't want to call the police.
So the property is still in the son's name?
Property still in the son's name. Okay. Because it's just devastating. I had this one individual.
Well, no, but he could say, we were doing Medicaid planning, which is what they do. A lot of times they put it in the children's name. And because there's a 5-year look back.
But if the victim, the mom, said, no, we weren't, then obviously the jury would see through it and say, okay, we got a greedy son here who tricked his mom to get this house. But it never went that far because the mom didn't want to report it. I got a call last year. This gentleman, he called the police and he basically said, my son took my 12 checks from my checkbook and forged my signature and wrote $1,000 on each check. And he was able to take $12,000. The police said, okay, well, yeah, he committed a crime. We can arrest him. And then the dad said, no, wait. I forget what I said. I don't want to prosecute and everything. The sad part about that is that a month later, he called the police again because he found out that his sister was lost $20,000 because of his son's actions to the sister. Yeah. Basically, he went over to the auntie's house, did the same thing, and took advantage of the auntie for $20,000. So yeah, we are seeing over and over again how parents, understandably, don't want to turn in their own children.
It happens so often. It happens so often because it reminds me now, I remember I did a reverse mortgage, at least 10 years ago. And when we were ready to close a loan, We gave her the money. She only wanted like $2,000, and she wanted to, fix the house up a little bit. And we gave her the money. And then a week later, she calls back screaming at me and saying, "You didn't give me the money. We usually wire the money to their account, or we give it to the title company. They give it to them."
Mm-hmm.
Well, screaming that she didn't get the money.
Okay.
Well, she got the money, but a daughter who lived with the mom wrote checks against that.
Oh my God!
It's like you said. Then about a year later, she calls up to me again, screaming, saying she wanted $20,000 to buy a car. Well, screaming that we didn't give her the money. We always wire the money. We don't give them a check. And we wired, and she's screaming at me. And she goes, "I'm going to call HUD. I'm going to call your boss. I'm going to call the mainland, your mortgage company." I said, "Go right ahead." And she did. And then, what I did in the meantime, I knew where her bank account was. So I walked down to the bank, the local branch, and said, "You know what, this so-and-so, obviously they can't give me information, but just check this account. And you don't have to tell me what happened, but just check this account because I believe money went in there on this particular day. And I believe somebody forged a check because the daughter did it once before. She'll do it again. The daughter wrote a check against that, and I checked if she's forged a signature or not because they can check the signature."
Okay.
And they did. I said, "You don't have to tell me whether it happened or not, but this is what happened. You can go check yourself, and if you think there's a problem, you can call the mom." And I think what you need to do, if I'm right, you need to close the checking account down and open a new one because the daughter probably has more than one check.
Right.
He said, "Oh, we can't do that." This is like 10 years ago, before all this elder abuse really became big.
Right.
And he said, "No, we can't do that." I said, "Yeah, you will do that."
Yeah,
you
freeze
have
the
to.
accounts. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it came true, and the daughter did write a check. They found that she forged it. The mother called me up. I'm calling the police. HPD came down. She called me up to come down, hold my hand while the HPD arrested my daughter. And sure enough, they arrested the daughter. But when she was ready to walk out the door, the mom started crying. "No, don't arrest my daughter. Take your handcuffs off." And they didn't arrest her. So so HPD or your prosecuting office cannot, if you have the evidence, you can't do anything unless
because she's the victim. That's the frustrating part. And actually, it's funny because not funny, but this morning I stopped by the office to print up some stuff before coming to your show, and I got a call from an individual who was so upset because their uncle was being taken advantage of by the family. And the uncle did not, and the caller was ready to call the police and everything like that. And I said, "You know what? The first thing the police are going to do is talk to your uncle. And they're going to say, do you want this person arrested? Do you want to prosecute?" Because the uncle is the victim. In your case, the mother is the victim. And even though and she's the one that has to go up and say they didn't have permission.
I get that. Well, let me ask you this then.
Okay.
Why in domestic violence cases, or when a child goes to the they go to the ER and they find there's abuse or bruising on the body, why is it mandatory they call the police? For domestic violence cases, it's mandatory that HPD arrest them and goes after them for abuse. So real quick answer. Okay, so real quick, because we only got a couple minutes left. Tell me really quickly, why can that happen and not in elder abuse cases?
Okay, well, first of all, in elder abuse cases, there's mandatory reporting. Okay, a financial institution, if they suspect abuse, they have to report it. Okay, so we've covered that. And the same with doctors. If they expect abuse from an elder, they have to report it. With respect to proof, it's been established that in domestic violence, you have what's called recantation. And we're seeing that more and more, where basically recantation is where the victim changes their mind saying, "I fell down the stairs," and therefore.
So they don't prosecute?
No, we can prosecute. In fact,
why not elder abuse cases?
Elder abuse cases, that's financial, because there's a difference between someone going and taking a financial loss as opposed to being physically abused.
So at the end of the day, please report it.
Please report
we got to
it.
stop the silence.
Yes.
We got to get all this word out there about elder abuse. Go to YouTube and Elder Abuse Hawaii.
Yes, Elder Abuse Hawaii.
And get the prosecutor's office's YouTube videos, and also these radio shows are all posted on your. And that's congratulations on that, by the way. It's huge, and we're going to put it in a magazine.
Oh, thank you.
And we got to promote it more and stop the silence, because, like I said, silence isn't golden.
It is not. Definitely not.
So Scott Spallina from the prosecutor's office. Real quick, your phone number again, how they can reach you if they have any complaints.
Okay, 768-6452, or you can email me at elderabuse, all one word, at honolulu.gov.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Spolina. Again, stop the silence. And we'll see you next week on Generations Radio. I'm Percy Ihara, your host, every Saturday from 5 to 6, Sunday from 3 to 4, here on AM 690, The Answer. Aloha and live well.